I have a local music folder where I save all the music files I like. And the problem is that if everything was to happen to my computer, I will lose access to it. So that's why I keep my USBs with me. So that's why I use USBs, so I can make backups of my files. And it's a very simple process, but I am, in case you are curious on how to, or you don't know how to do it in Linux, I'm going to do a quick showcase on how I do my backups. So first of all, this is I use lsblk to list all my devices, and here we can see the SDA device, which is the one for the USB. It usually goes something along these lines. It can be SDA, STB, it depends on your system. So I'm just going to mount this. So I'm going to do doas mount dev SDA, and I'm going to mount it to the media folder, which you might not have. I created this one myself. Hold on. So the media file, it's a folder in /media that is, well, it's supposed to be empty. Now it's not empty anymore because I mounted the USB in there. But you're supposed to use an empty folder for this. So when you have to mount a USB into your system, you're supposed to give it as a second argument, like you do. Mount dev SDA stands for device and the name of the device. Then it's the name of an empty folder, which in my case, as I said, /media is an empty folder for me, so that's what I use. Yeah, that's how it goes. So right now, if I do ls media, I can see the folders that are inside of my USB. And right now, where I'm standing in, I have a music folder as well, like in my home directory. So I have a music folder in /media and a music folder in my home directory, as you can see. Where is it? Music. So I want to make a backup of that. In order to do that, I could be using, if you don't have that many files, you can just use cp, which stands for copy, -r to make it recursively, and then you can just, this will be my music folder, and this will be the location where I want it to go. Now, this is definitely a possibility, but in my case, my music folder is just too big. So if I do that, it's going to take a lot of resources from my USB, which, USBs don't have that much capacity. So it's going to take a while until the process is finished. Then there's also an application called rsync, which is supposed to be for backups. But in my case, rsync never really worked. Like it's just incredibly slow for me. So instead, I'm going to be using an application that I have developed, which is called BKNAD. You can find it in my GitHub. What this application does is to check which files have been added and which files have been deleted. It doesn't check the inner contents of the files. All it does is to make sure that the tree, the structure of the file system, is the same. And that's exactly what I need for a music backup. So I'm going to be using that, and I'm going to be copying my music folder, which this is a local path to where I have the music folder, and then I'm going to do a root path to where I want it to go, which is /media/music. To all of that, I'm going to give sudo, so I have permissions to overwrite things there, and let's see how it goes. It gives me all the new files and all the files that are going to be removed. I'm going to assume this is all fine, so I'll press yes. Let's continue. And now the process has been finished, so that means that if I was to check one of my more recent files, which will be in the file Falcone folder. By the way, very great musician. So I can see that these files that didn't exist before are now there. So the backup was successful. The following part will be for unplugging the USB, which, as you know, it's unsafe to plug the USB while you're using it. So you can just unmount it with umount, well, doas or sudo in your case, depending on what you're using. It will be doas umount /dev/sda, which, as you remember, it's the name of my USB. And I'm going to continue it with the eject command. And now I just have to wait. Now this process might take a while depending on how many resources you've made your USB consume. So yeah, just leave it in the background and you can continue doing your stuff.